Hello friends, I'm Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to Sunday. Things are gonna happen. The main thing we're doing today, so I've got a another Criterium cycling gig this coming weekend. I'm leaving, I'm flying down to Miami on Thursday, and while in yoga this morning, actually, I realized, shit, that means I only have this afternoon, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to get all my stuff ready. And so, yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a scramble. I was going to do Tiny Whoop stuff today, and I am still going to fly a couple of batteries, but I need to get this finished up. So this is my analog Cinesplorer with the top plate removed. This is the lightweight Cinesplorer. This thing is under 500 grams with a full fat Hero 8 on it. And I keep it together with analog as the main camera because this is a, for a couple of reasons. This is a Foxeer Toothless Starlight, which works amazing in the dark. And then also, it's just, this is kind of like my baseline. As to, like, because Cinewhoops fly really, really, really accurately when they're super lightweight. So I love having this together. And I mean, there are occasions where I prefer to fly analog. And so, yeah, this is what I use for that. But it's also like a really nice baseline as I go to like bigger motors, bigger batteries, heavier GoPros, DJI, Cinewhoops to come back to this and fly this and see, you know, how good it is when they're really lightweight. Basically, when they're the lighter that a Cinewhoop is, the more it's just going to track straight forward. It's going to have less momentum to carry it left and right and slide around. So when they're super lightweight like this, they are just like a laser beam. They are so accurate. You see the gap, you point it towards it, and you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to like if you're sliding right, you don't have to really compensate to then get into the gap. You can just point it at the gap, and it's got so little weight that it'll shed that little bit of extra momentum and just plow straight through the gap. So yeah, that's what this rig is. It's on super lightweight 2004s, the lightest weight 2004s ever made. They actually have titanium shafts, which is crazy. Micromotors don't really get the titanium treatment. And what's cool about this rig is I set it up. So I've used this once already at one of these Criterium races, and it worked brilliantly. I've got a Rush Tank 20x20 VTX in the rear of this. And what I did last time is I just put really long hardware in the rear 20x20 stack here and just left it. And I dropped the Rush down really low, and then I left this really tall hardware so that when I have one of these Criterium gigs, I can just take a GoPro with the TPU camera holders flipped upside down to give myself down tilt, and then just take the little Vista and just drop it right on there. And all I need to do is power the Vista. When you're using the smart controller, so these gigs are live streamed, and I get hooked up to the back of a multi-million-dollar TV truck with a smart controller, HDMI from the smart controller out to fiber into the truck, and then I hook my goggles up via USB to the smart controller. The Fly Live app, and then outputs, right? So in order to use the smart controller, you have to turn off temperature protection. And when you turn off temperature protection, you no longer need the MSP signal to run the Vista at full stank. So this setup works really, really well because I just have to power this Vista. I just have to give this Vista power, which I give it from the ESC pads, and it's good to go. It outputs to the goggles. I put the goggles down on my table in my little tent, and then I pop on my analog goggles and I fly this thing analog from the front, and the DJI camera in the rear shoots backwards at the cyclists. And it's really challenging to fly because when I nose down, this shot goes up, right? And when I rotate to the left, this shot, I guess this shot also rotates to the left. But like when I rotate to the left, it's actually pushing the riders off to the... It's a little bit of a mindfuck to fly it, to be honest with you. But and the hardest part is that I don't like... Typically, the director wants you to film the leaders, and there's nobody in front of the leaders. So what I'll usually do is kind of sweep down past the leaders, and in doing so, like that's kind of selling the shot to the directors. Hopefully I'll hear, for whatever reason, usually I'm almost always camera 11. Hopefully I'll hear ready 11. That means ready camera 11 to the guy pushing the buttons on the switchboard, essentially. And then as I'm coming down, once I hear take 11, that's when I'm live. And hopefully I can then swoop down over the leaders and then just try to figure out what their pace was. Like as I'm swooping down, I'm carrying more pace. A part of that reason is because I'm dropping altitude. So what I'll try to usually do is keep the, and it's just, I just get used to it from doing it over and over and over again. And I'll usually have a PA that's watching the smart controller to tell me like, hey, you're too far ahead, you're too far back, shot up, shot down, kind of thing. And then after doing it a bunch of times, I just kind of get in the flow of how I need to swoop down past the leaders, and then I just keep my pitch. I just leave my pitch completely alone. And usually that's enough to then slow down in front of the leaders. Once I'm no longer dropping altitude, the rig will naturally slow down, and then hopefully the leaders will just track right below me, right behind me, rather. Steve E in chat actually helped me out quite a bit with this, among other folks. The Salt Lake City, Utah crit event last year is where I met Steve E. And that was the first time I had this rig there, and yeah, it worked shockingly well. I did not expect it to work as well as it did. The TV truck absolutely loved the angle that this thing is able to get, right? Like it looks like you're flying backwards with down tilt. And so yeah, I'm throwing it back together because I've got another one of those events this weekend in Miami Beach, Miami. So yeah, I need to get this going. While I do this, I'm also going to swap out the VTX on here. Right now, like I said, it's got the Rush 20x20, the Rush Tank 20x20. T-Motor had Rush make them a 20x20. that they put a little bit more substantial of a heat sink on, and they sent me this last year, and I said, hey, you know, it's going to take me a little while to put it in. I know exactly where I want to put it, but I'll definitely be using this thing, and so now's when we're going to be using it. I'm going to kind of do something cool with this. I'm going to use heat transfer tape on the bottom of this, and I'm going to push this all the way down against the carbon fiber base plate of the frame, and that's going to transfer the heat from this VTX into the carbon fiber to use the carbon fiber as a heat sink. That's a little trick that I've been doing for the last year or so. You can get heat transfer tape off of Amazon pretty cheap, and this is what it looks like. It's got a little bit of thickness to it. It's nowhere near as sticky as VHB, so I would never use this. I would never just double-sided tape something down with this, but in this case I've got the standoff, so I just need to layer this down, and then I'm going to pull the VTX down into it with the nuts on the standoffs, and that'll secure it, and then it'll just dump all of its heat down into the base plate, which is, yeah, pretty cool. I mean, you know, this is just an analog VTX, right? It would actually be better, and what I normally do is I'll use this stuff with the Vistas, on the bottom of the Vistas. In this case, though, and I could do that here, right? I could lift the VTX up and off, and then put the Vista on the bottom, and then put the analog VTX up on top of it. And that's what I did last time, but to do that, like every time I do this switch, and I've got 4 of these cycling events, 3 or 4 of these cycling events scheduled for this year, so I would rather not have to take this off, put it on, take it off. I mean, it's not that big of a deal. The Vista is going to get hotter. Yeah, maybe I will do that. Maybe that's what I will do. I don't know. It would be nice to just be able to drop the Vista down on top. No, yeah, I'm going to put this thing on the bottom, because if I put this on the bottom, slap it down, it's screwed down, and then I'm just going to put a set of nuts on top of this, and then those nuts will give this a little bit of breathing room from the Vista. Yeah, that'll be fine. And the Vista, this is a full cased Vista, and I won't have to worry about it over. It'll be fine. I don't run, I run them at 700 milliwatts, and when I basically, so I'll chase the lead group, and then I'll reset and come back, and I'll usually land, and I'll just let it idle when it lands, just to keep a little bit of airflow going. So yeah, I'm not super concerned about this overheating. But yeah, that's the plan for today. Let me get caught up on chat though, and then I do have a whole bunch of Tiny Whoop batteries that are charged. Let's fly a couple of batteries. There's been a couple of things that I've changed that I want to kind of talk about and show you guys, and also I want to fly here. Thursday I chased the drift cars again, and we talked a whole bunch about that Friday. But I didn't get a chance to fly on Friday. And I want to, because I took this 75 millimeter, just like random parts I had laying around, Mobula 7 1S builds, and I put 0603 26,000 kV motors on it with bi-blades. And it seemed to be totally fine chasing the drift cars, but I was focused on trying to stick with them rather than like kind of fly this thing around. So I do want to put a couple of batteries through this and compare it to the 0802 27,000 kV motors, just to kind of get a feel. I mean, I don't think that these 0603 Tiny Whoop 26,000 kV motors are a great fit for a 75 millimeter rig, mainly because they only have a 1 millimeter motor shaft, and you will absolutely bend these motor shafts with how heavy this thing is. If you plan on doing freestyle stuff with it and crashing hard, as you should be. So yeah, I don't think they're the best match for one of these as a freestyle rig, but this should be significantly lighter. And so for like a chase rig, or just if you're not going to crash hard, these 0603s could be a good option. So this guy dry, wow, that's really light, man. That's like lighter than the newbie the newbie drone BLV4 bind and fly, 23.2 grams. That's pretty impressive for a 75 mil motor to motor rig. And then wow, that's not bad either. The Jungle Gym Destroyer is 24 grams right on the nose. Wow, I can't believe how light this is. Okay. 23.3 versus 24. The difference in weight between these two things is the motors. And the motors are the weight that's the farthest out. So motor weight has the biggest possible, out of any weight on the quad, motor weight has the biggest impact on the rig's flight performance. So yeah, not only is this almost a gram lighter, but the motors are lighter. So we should be able to tell a difference between these two. Maybe not, because this is a bigger, gruntier motor. This is an 0802, which is slightly higher stator volume than 0603. This is also a little bit of a higher KV, 27,000 KV versus 26,000 KV. I could motor limit this guy down, but I want to give this, I'm gonna run this all the way. I'm gonna run these both at 100%, because yeah, that's the fairest kind of thing. And then I also want to put a couple of batteries through the rig that you were watching the footage at the beginning of the live stream from. This is a Fractal 65 build. I did this, so I've gone down the Fractal 65 road for freestyle, and I don't like it for freestyle. But for chasing these RC drift cars, this is amazing. The camera being all the way up front gets the ducts out of view, which is amazing, but also the camera is like the lowest point, so you can get all the way down onto the carpet with this, and you're like, it's easier to tell when you're gonna hit the carpet with this rig than any other rig that I've done that with. And that's kind of a big deal, because you know these 10th scale RC cars are only this tall, right? They're about this tall. So we're trying to emulate like a real 5-inch rig chasing a big boy car. So we want our elevation to be down like this, right? So with this particular rig, I've got all this area. Whereas with a normal rig, I'm going to bottom out like there. So I've only got that much area. It's not quite half as much, but yeah, this is going to hit the ground a lot sooner. And I'm never going to get the camera as low as possible, right? Like I can get this camera down to like the center line of the little wheels that they run. Whereas this guy with some up tilt on it, it's never going to be able to kind of get that camera as low. I didn't think there would be as much of a difference, but there definitely was. I flew a bunch of batteries on this, and a battery on this, and a battery on this, which are both like standard tiny whoops. And yeah, this was definitely, I was just able to drop down lower more confidently and hit the ground less often with this, which was really cool. This Fractal frame is super interesting. Eves is an amazing dude. And it's nice to, I'm really glad that I've found like a really good use for this frame, because initially I was hoping it would be good for freestyle, and then for a couple of reasons I didn't love it. It's not bad, but it's just not as good as like the regular setups that I've been doing. And yeah, it's just I love finding like the perfect X or Y or Z for a specific scenario. And for chasing RC drift cars, this is it right here. I changed these motors over from, on Thursday, it had the 0702 30,000 kV Tiny Whoop motors. I've now switched this to the lower kV 28,500 We Bleed Gore motors. Because this is a chase rig, we're going to prioritize throttle resolution, and lower kV motors will do exactly that. You can certainly just use motor limiting in beta flight, but there is a tiny little advantage to actually going to a lower kV motor. And I had these motors sitting around, so it just kind of makes sense to throw them on. So yeah, I'm gonna rip this around a little bit with these lower KV motors, and we'll see what's what. So yeah, that's sort of the plan for today. Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper was first in the chat. Shout out to him and Quadbod for doing tons of time codes on Apache Smoke has been doing all of the streams moving forward, and then Quadbod has actually been going back in time to do a bunch of streams. I think Quadbod is all the way back into like September of 2022 by now. So there are tons and tons and tons of live streams from the last like 6+ months that are now broken down into time codes so that you can search a little bit easier. Like if you just go to my channel here on YouTube, there's a little magnifying glass. Every channel has this. Every channel on YouTube, they hide it. It's on the left, the top left side, little magnifying glass. You click that and you can search just that channel. And the search digs pretty deep. It digs into the descriptions and the titles. So yeah, you can search my channel for like how to fix ELR. Well, here, let me show you. Oops. All right, so you can search on just my channel. There it is. See? For broken ELRS. And it's going to find a bunch of live streams where I've fixed the broken ELRS ceramic antennas. Here's the first one, Fix Shit Friday. It looks like I also did it here, and it looks like I also did it here. So yeah, huge shout out to those two guys, Quadbod and Apache Smoke Wounded Sniper, for taking this project on of doing these time codes. It's super cool. If you guys want to help out, if you're ever watching one of these live streams and something funny or interesting or topical happens, just leave a comment. Just look at the time code. It's going to be 2 digits. So like right now it would be 00:22:10, according to OBS. So you drop that format of time code into your comment and then just type like a little description of what happened. And then when you post that comment, your little time code is going to turn blue and it's clickable. So anybody else that's watching the video that looks through the comments, they're going to see your comment. They're going to see that there's a little link there with the time code, and they're probably going to click it, and they might follow over to your channel and give you a subscription, a subscribble, or some love. So yeah, do it. It's fun. And it helps everybody out. Freelojo was next in the chat. Espander after him. Northern Tier, Flush FPV, Rob Axis and Adam C, Rock Crawler, Morton Upshot, McBucus, Chris Mel, Freelojo again. Big Fran is here. Ethan W, License to Drive Anonymous, Morton Upshot, McMucus, Espander, Fun Per Volt, Rob Axis and Marcel off Axis FPV. I'm gonna just start reading like the first screen. So if you want the Gangly Man to read your name, you gotta come into the chat early and type something. You can also type CiottiFPV into your chat comment and it'll light up an orange and I will read your chat comment, or you can do a super chat or a PayPal and just tag me. This is my full-time job. If you like this content and you would like to see it continue, I'm like PBS. I need your help. I'm completely crowdfunded. I don't take any money from sponsors that are sending me stuff to review. So when I talk about stuff, you know, you guys pay the bills, so I'm going to be completely honest to you. I have no reason to lie about anything because I'm not taking money from any of those sponsors. I kind of stole this idea from Joshua Bardwell. It's how he operates. And it's why his reviews are so fair and dialed in and just, you know, awesome. So, yeah, help a brother out. Help me keep doing this because it's super fun and we have an amazing community. I've been getting one new patron every single live stream. Do not let that streak end or I will starve to death and die. And you don't want that on your conscience. That just won't be great. Drew, shout out to you for joining the Gangly Gang. You were the most recent patron. Who's it going to be tonight? You'll get a shout out and you'll get some love and you'll get the feeling when you lay down at night of helping a lanky fella keep doing his thing. What is this? Okay. Alan Lohman won Tweet FPV's giveaway. That's very cool. Shout out to Tweet FPV. Dan is an awesome guy. Mark is unread. There we go. All right, people. So yeah, here it is, CiottiFPV.com. Come over here, pick your poison. Patreon helps me out the most, as it says here. You can join my Patreon for as little as $3 a month, which is only 10 cents a day. If you're into FPV, I know you've got 10 extra cents per day laying around. Let me get it, yo, and I'll give you some good content in as a thanks. I've got a private YouTube playlist with almost 90 unreleased videos that you'll get access to, 2 Facebook groups, the full access to the Patreon channel, which is going to let you get in on stuff like the stick end fund, where you can rent from me a box with every single stick end that exists so that you can actually try them to see if they work with your little fingies. And there's a whole bunch of really cool tech articles over on the Patreon channel that'll save you time and money and stuff like that. Etsy has some really fun stickers and random hardware. Over on Fiverr, you can work one-on-one with me. I've been doing this for over 6 years. I would love to give you a huge like bump in your amount of knowledge and experience that you've got in the hobby. If you've been in the hobby for 2 years, I can, within like a half an hour, get you to the point where it's almost like you've been in the hobby for 2.5 or 3 years. Because like you've just got, everybody has a ton of questions that are unanswered that are hard to find on the internet. Ask me those questions and I can almost certainly help you out. Teespring has some fun shirts and apparel. Here's the PayPal button if you want to do a super chat to support the insanity, but you don't want YouTube and Google to take 30%. You can use the PayPal button. If you do that, leave me a chat comment that says, "Yo, CiottiFPV, check your Patreon, check your PayPal." Shout out to I hate destroying people's names. It feels so disrespectful. So I'm gonna go by I'm gonna call him Green Beast. Thanks for joining the Patreon, Green Beast. Very cool of you. I'm not gonna massacre your first name out of hopefully respect to you. But he's the Green Beast, man. That's a fun name. Thanks for coming on board. Welcome to the Gangly Gang, my friend. Hey, I've got a bunch of stuff that you can just buy directly from me. I've got 3 of these 0.99 millimeter drill bits left. If you're doing tiny whoop things, you need a 0.99 millimeter drill bit. All of the HQ props need to be drilled out. All of the newbie drone props need to be drilled out. And a couple of the older Gemfan props really need to be drilled out. If you don't do that, you're going to get pissed because you're male and you're going to push them really hard onto your motor shafts, and then at some point you're going to have to remove them, and during the process of removing them, you're going to bend the motor shaft. You might not notice, but all of a sudden your rig's going to start flying like ass, and it's because that stupid little 1 millimeter motor shaft has bent a little bit, because so many of these propellers are way too, the inner dimensions of the hole is a little bit too tight. 0.99 millimeters is just right. That's what she said. So you can buy one of these 3 remaining drill bits off of me, or you can buy a McStinky mount or 2 off of me. This is arguably the best way of mounting a camera on a tiny whoop. You just need to let me know what camera you've got. There are 3 different versions of this McStinky mount. Or you can buy, what's the third thing? What's the third thing that I've been shipping out with these? Oh yeah, 3 millimeter threaded spacers. I got a whole bunch of these 3 mil threaded spacers for the front of your, so on 5-inch rigs with a TPU GoPro mount. Normally you can't crank those top screws down because you'll just squish the TPU out. You put these 3 millimeter spacers under the screw head and they'll drive down into the carbon fiber, and the TPU will just like form itself around this spacer, and then you can crank those top 4 screws down really hard. So any one of these things you can buy from me, but you gotta buy a sticker and show your love for the gangliest of ganglies. Any sticker will work. I've got a couple of different gangly stickers, one of them in matte, one of them in holographic. There you go, kind of shows the holographicness. I've got a brand new old school Apple themed CiottiFPV logo here. Those are the OG Apple colors. If you're into motorsports, this is a cool little Ciotti Golf livery sticker. For $10, you can get 1 sticker and any one of those 3 things. For $15, you can get a sticker pack and any one of those things. The sticker pack is either this sticker sheet, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on it, or 3 individual stickers. Matte Gangly Gang, CiottiFPV logo, and Micro King sticker, or holographic CiottiFPV, Gangly Gang, and Micro King window cling. You can put it on the inside or the outside of a window. This is what I do to keep, these are the things that I do to keep doing this full time. I appreciate your patience while I tell you the same thing that I've told you over and over again. But hey man, gotta keep the ship afloat somehow. Gotta shill a little bit. But no more shilling. Now to business. I think we're gonna fly a little bit. But let me get at least a little bit caught up on chat here. Apache Smoke Wings Sniper says, good evening, CiottiFPV. What's up? Hello, gangly gang. How's everybody doing this sunny Sunday? It is gorgeous. Good lord. Espander says hi. Rob Axelson says hola. Rockcrawler says hey. Rob Axelson says hey as well. No one FPV tags me with a little hand up emoji person thingy. Marcel Off Axis says so good. CiottiFPV. I'm more interested in now I'm more interested in DJI. Stevie says seen it in action. Great system. He did indeed. Rob Oxenson says, he said set of nuts. I did indeed. Rob Oxenson says, I don't think we can see the time during live streams. Yeah, I think you're right. You also can't leave comments during the live stream. So the whole like leaving a comment with the time code thing is more for people that watch this not live. But yeah. Brandon McBean says, really good footage with those RC cars, CiottiFPV. I checked it on Instagram. Thank you, dude. Yeah, if you guys aren't following my Instagram, how fucking dare you? Head on over. And, God damn it, come on. So, yeah, I've put some things up over there. I guess I can't really play them because the audio will get me copyright dinged. But yeah, I've got one edit up with the I've got two edits up with the 120 frame per second Insta360 Go footage. One of them is just kind of like a comedy edit, and then this is like the real one. So check them out. This is pretty rad. And I've got a so at the intro of the live stream, you were watching some of the analog footage from this guy. On my laptop, I've been working on like a proper edit with the analog footage from this, just because I'm really happy with how it came out with the camera really low, and there are a bunch of really cool moments. So I took a little bit of couch time and dove into an edit. I know that I'd previously said that I kind of can't justify doing that because I have a bunch of other edits that are more pressing, but sometimes I just got to do something completely for fun rather than like, you know, what I need to be working on. So yeah, that'll be coming soon. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for the reminder on Instagram though. Rob Axelson says, T-Motor has new motors, 1804. I want to use for my new 4-inch, comes in T-mount or 5mm prop. Other than prop selection, is one better than the other? It is all about prop selection. I would maybe advise you to not get those 1804s though, Rob. If you want an 1804, the X Novas are a known quantity. They are available from Pyrodrone. They are, the X Nova 1804 is the best micro motor that I have ever run in over 6 years of doing this. The T-Motor 1804s are probably good. There is a big question mark though. Do they have a 3mm motor shaft or a 2mm motor shaft? The X Novas have a 3mm motor shaft, and I shit you not, they are indestructible. I have the M5 shaft 1804s. I have pounded the balls out of them over like almost 3 years. They were on Acrobrats, and I broke like 3 or 4 frames, base plates on those Acrobrats. And then I put them onto Rip Squeaks. They've been on a QAV 4-inch and 3-inch. They've been on a whole bunch of different rigs. I spin them up in the motors tab of Betaflight, and they are as if I've never run them before. And I have beaten them to the white meat. Like it is really absurd how hard I have slammed those motors over and over and over again, and they just don't care. They've been on the 250 rig. They've got a 3mm motor shaft, And so when you build a rig that's like 300 grams and below, which is pretty much all 3-inch and 3.5-inch rigs, a 3mm motor shaft apparently is indestructible. And that's kind of what we want, right? Like, we want our motors to be, I mean, we want everything on the quad to be indestructible, but the motors take the biggest amount of impact. And yeah, if the motors are durable, it's a really fun quad to fly because you don't have to constantly repair motors or change the tune because the motor bell gets bent a little bit more every time, which is the situation with 2mm motor shafts. So yeah, if the T-Motor 1804s have a 3mm motor shaft, they could be better than the X-Nova 1804s. But I mean, maybe just spend $20 and just get one and look at the motor shaft. I looked in the specs, and it doesn't tell you what the diameter of the motor shaft is on them. The X-Nova motors, you can get them in T-mount or M5 mount, so there's really no advantage to the T-motors versus the... Did I say X-Nova a second ago? I meant to say X-Nova. The X-Novas come in M5 mount and T-mount, just like the T-motors. So yeah, my guess is that the T-motors are going to maybe make a little bit more power. Maybe not. Just because they're newer, they're probably going to make a little bit more power. What I can tell you is that the X-Nova 1804s, they're both the same KV. They're both 3500, 3400 KV. The X-Nova 1804s they don't make quite enough power, in my opinion, for a 4-inch propeller. They are perfect on a 3-inch propeller, though. And GemFan has a 3520, and now they've got a 3525. The 3525 would be the best option on the M5 mount 1804s. Or you can drop down to a 3-inch propeller, and you've got the T-Motor 3140. That's my favorite propeller to pair up with the X-Nova 1804s, just because it's a really durable propeller, and that's a really durable motor, so you can build an absolute basher of a 3-inch rig. So yeah, I love that someone else is making an 1804. I hope to hell that it has a 3mm motor shaft. If it doesn't, do not get it. If it has a 2mm motor shaft, stay the hell away from these T-Motor 1804s. But if they do have a 3mm, they could be a really good option. X-Nova, Eva FPV mentioned last time we were hanging that X-Nova makes like higher level motors. They're a more premier motor manufacturer company, and then they make some smaller, cheaper motors for us. You could kind of say the same thing about T-Motor, sort of, but not like, T-Motor makes great motors, but they make like our normal motors. X-Nova makes like big ass lifter motors and like really, really high quality motors. So their quality has been unbelievable. Speak of the devil, Eva FPV says T-Motor Pacer 1804s are 2mm motor shafts. I was looking at those last night. Stay the hell away from those. 2mm motor shaft, in my opinion, should not be on anything bigger than 1404. 1404 should really be where 2mm motor shafts stop. Part of that reason is that the 14mm wide stator is not really big enough to go to a 3mm motor shaft. But when you get to a 15mm wide stator, it absolutely is. I've never seen a 14mm stator where the manufacturer has been able to do a 3mm motor shaft because the bearing gets so the bearing has an outer diameter and then the bearing has an inner diameter. Well, the difference between the outer and the inner diameter is going to control how big them balls are. And as we all know, the bigger the balls, the better. And so when you start to make the inner diameter bigger, your balls get smaller. And on a 14mm wide stator, either you can't do it, or the balls get so small that it's just not good. When the balls are really tiny and the bearing takes a hit, those little balls dig into the inner race or the outer race, and it ruins the bearing. So you have to balance. You have to balance the size of your balls with, the size of your underpants, I guess. When you get up to a 15 millimeter wide stator, though, RC and Power did a 1506. It was a nightmare motor, but it did have a 3 millimeter motor shaft. 16 millimeter wide, there's been a bunch. The earliest one was the Emax 1606. Bit of a nightmare of a motor, but indestructible motor shaft. So 15 millimeter wide stator and above should have a 3 mil motor shaft. If anybody is not doing that, they can go to hell. Not true. But it's really annoying. If you're gonna get a motor bigger than 1404 that's gonna have a 2 millimeter motor shaft, do not crash that rig, because when you crash that rig, you will bend motor shafts, and it's very annoying. Very, very, very annoying. So yeah. And if you ever are given the opportunity, like if you see a motor manufacturer post a motor that's bigger than 1404, put a comment that says, "Can you please make this in with a 3 millimeter motor shaft in the future? We need them." Like, we really do. We need to all make these motor manufacturers know. Like, I've been screaming it from the rooftops as loud as I can for years, but they don't just listen to one person, especially when that person's gangly and has barely over 7,000 subscriptions on YouTube. We hit 7,000 the other day. Thank you, friends. Tell people that aren't subscribed to subscribe, or I'll die. See if that works. Yeah. Whenever you see a motor manufacturer post a new motor, leave a comment. Is this 3 millimeter motor shaft? We need it to be. Please make this with a 3 millimeter. Like, let's just bombard them until they realize that they need to do that. And then all these motors will be like damn near indestructible, and all will be better. Apache Smoke says, "Thanks for the shout out. You are certainly welcome, my friend." Durr, I'm just gonna call him Durr. He says, "Please tell people not to update HD0 goggles batch 2 since it will break them." I don't know anything about this, but I've now told people, do your own research. But yeah, according to Dare, if you have HD0 goggles batch 2, don't update them. EVFPV, we got that. Denzel the Turbo says, "How do you guys store props? My collection of different ones is starting to get out of hand." I've got like an 8-foot long section of floor over there with all of my propellers just exploded out for the time. I'm trying to get them organized. I don't have a great way of doing it. I have like big gallon Ziploc bags, and I'll put like all of my and then all of the propellers are individually bagged in these and the bigger ones, right? So I'll have like a big gallon or whatever Ziploc bags that I'll put all the 2-inch props in, another one with all the 2.5-inch. When I get to 3-inch, that gallon bag is not big enough, so I have one bag of 3-inch T-mount, and I have another bag of 3-inch M5 mount, and then I actually have a third bag of 3-inch Cinewoop props. I don't know. I hoard props, and like I find it amusing to have one of every. With micros, you can do this. With micros, there aren't enough propellers being manufactured, so I can have every single 3-inch prop that's ever been made. With 5-inch props, you would have to have like a storage unit to store every 5-inch prop that's ever been produced. So I don't do it with 5-inch, but 2-inch, 2.5, 3-inch, and Tiny Whoop. I have, and 3.5-inch, and 4-inch. I have every propeller that's ever been made in the last 6-ish years. But I am going to get rid of some of them. I swear, I'm definitely going to get rid of some of them. Kevin Sumner says, "What do you think about flying on a monitor for the cheater quad? Analog big with DJI small picture-in-picture." That is a really cool idea, but at these criterium races, there is a lot going on. There are So my path to fly, so, 107 rules are that you can't, basically you can't fly over strangers, okay? You can only fly over people that are like in your crew, or the participants in the thing that you're doing. Easiest way to think about this is that these cyclists are signing a waiver, right? That says they can't sue the company that organizes the race if they get injured. Well, I'm part of, I'm on their insurance, yada, yada, yada. So yeah, they're basically a part of the crew. And then of course us, like crew, right? That's the way that the FAA has it set up. So I have a very defined flight path, which is basically just the racetrack. And there are like spectators on the outside of that. I usually get placed as far away from the spectators as possible. God forbid something happens, right? So I'm typically not flying like on the start-finish line where it's lined with spectators. We try to put me on. Usually I get placed where they have the worst possible coverage. And where they have the worst possible coverage is where the least people are, right? So it kind of works perfectly. But my flight path is just the racetrack, and it's usually just a straight bit of the racetrack. Because of that, and because there's like railings and there's the potential for there to be spectators, it's I'm not gonna say it's sketchy, but I have to really focus the entire time. And flying on a monitor is just a little weird. If we were in a situation where it was like totally controlled and there was no chance of spectators on the side of the railing or anything like that, that might be a possibility. But yeah, with these events, I mean, I always really err in the side of favor. On the side of safety. Maybe after I've done 20 or 30 of these, it'll be a little bit more chilled out. Because it is tough. Like, it is really, really tough not being able to monitor my own rear camera. But I've now told them, like, you have to get me a PA on every single one of these events. So no matter what, I will have a second set of eyes looking at the monitor. In the past, I've been lucky enough to have a couple of you guys show up and sort of do that and hang out, which has been great. But yeah, that's kind of our workaround. I could also like spend a bunch of time flying from a monitor and get good at it, but to be honest, yeah, like it's a really challenging gig. At the Miami Beach event, there's going to be a bunch of, so at the Anniston event, there's a bunch of wires crossing the main area that I usually fly. At Salt Lake City, I don't think there were any wires, but there was just a really awful RF situation, noise floor madness going on. Now at Miami Beach, it doesn't look like there's any power lines going across, but there are palm trees, and the tops of the palm trees kind of, come over into my strip that I'm flying on. So yeah, there's like a lot going on. I wouldn't feel comfortable being on a monitor, and I'm flying by these cyclists, and like God forbid, like one of them gets hurt, like it's whatever. Like I obviously don't want that, but like it's fine. But I don't want to get, like, they're competing, right? Like, I don't want to get in their way at all. And I've talked at both events, I've talked to a bunch of the cyclists and said to them, like, hey, was I near you with the drone at any point? And I've managed to grab a couple of them and be like, hey, like, does it bother you? Like, does it make you perform any worse? Are you able to concentrate and focus? And everybody has been like, yeah, it's you're totally fine. One guy said at some point, I must have done like a snap flip or a snap roll. And he said that freaked him out for a split second because he thought it was like falling out of the air. The main feedback that I get is because of the fact that I'm pacing them, we're just like hanging out. Everybody's like, oh yeah, that's cool, man. We're just like hanging out when I'm riding. And like, that's it, right? So there's no like closing speed. That same guy that said about the snap flip, he said also there was a point where we were going the opposite direction and he noticed me. A bunch of the guys were like, I don't even notice you. Like every once in a while, like maybe I'll see you, but I don't even notice you because again, I'm cruising with them. So yeah, that's been really good to get that feedback. But it's a lot. It's a really stressful kind of thing, and I'm just flying a straight line over and over and over again, but I'm trying to stay close to these guys but give them space, and I'm trying to think about like who's the leader, what's the action that's going on, right? Is somebody drafting, getting ready to pass? So there's a lot, and I'm on comms with the TV truck, and they're talking, and you got to kind of like manage like whether you're live or not, so you're listening that for like the ready 11, or you're also listening for which camera they are taking. You get to basically learn the numbers of the cameras on the different corners, so when you hear the corner, them take the camera on the corner before your run, you know to kind of get ready. So there's a lot going on, but it's fantastically fun, as you can probably tell from my excitement. Michael D says, did you get a pre-order in yet for the Acrobeast 65 with built-in crossfire? So Kelvin from Newbie Drone messaged me yesterday. He's like in a panic almost. He's like, are you streaming today? I need a little bit of help. I was like, what's going on? I'm not streaming. I'm out with the family, blah, blah. He's like, we launched Crossfire and Ghost BLV4s today, and everybody thinks it's an April Fool's joke. I need help like making people understand that they can actually order these and that it's not an April Fool's joke. He's like, man, we fucked around so bad last year and the year before that everybody thinks we're just messing with them again. And I said, I'm not streaming, but I can stream tomorrow. He said, all right, cool. I'm going to overnight you one of them. Hopefully it'll get there tomorrow. If not, I'm sure it'll be there on Monday. It did not get here today, which is why this is not a live stream dedicated to that. Hopefully it'll be here tomorrow. So tomorrow night's live stream should have a Crossfire BLV4 on it, which is super cool. And there's also a Ghost BLV4 on it. So yeah, I can't wait to check that out. For the longest time, I've been waiting for a Crossfire BLV4 so that I didn't have to go to Express LRS. Eventually, I said to hell with it and went to Express LRS, and here we are. But that's fine. I'm really glad that I went to ELRS, to be honest. Dare says, my name is German for the cat. You can read this in Mads Tech community post, HG0 Discord. Thanks for telling it to your audience. You're certainly welcome. BWNZ says, how much do they pay you for such an event? It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of setup on my side. It's multiple days, right? This is like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I charge half day rate for Thursday, travel day. I charge half day rate for Sunday. And then I charge a little bit more for my day rate on Friday and Saturday. Friday is a test day, but if you're putting a quad up in the air, you can pretty much charge your day rate, because when you put a rig up in the air, you're taking all that risk, right? You're putting $1,000+ in the air. Maybe it never comes home. You got to be able to pay for that. So yeah, if you're going to start charging for your flying, one of the easiest rules of thumb that those of us that have been doing this for a while have kind of are really trying to stick by is like, hey, if a rig goes up in the air, that's day rate, baby. Unless you want to do hourly stuff, like, and for like music videos and whatnot, I'll do hourly stuff. There's a lot of people that hate those of us that will do that. A lot of folks say like, stop doing that. Only charge day rate at the, if you day rate or half day rate, but like the real professionals, they want everyone to only charge day rate. I get that, but a lot of these small music videos are done on less than the entire budget of the music video is less than what an FPV pilot day rate is. So it just rules you out of getting any of those jobs. So yeah, I do some hourly stuff, but yeah, there's that. Kevin Sumner says, I wonder if HD0 goggles could do picture-in-picture. Maybe I should file a feature request. That would be pretty slick. That would be very slick. BMZ, name is pronounced Bones, like PWO under the B. Bones, nice. Bones. I get it. Very cool. All right, let's fly a couple Tiny Whoop batteries, just because I have a whole bunch of them still charged up that do need to get drag down, and you guys seem to enjoy watching me fly, so I don't feel bad doing it. So this is going to be the, what should I call this? Is this the analog cinematic rig? What should the name be for this little Fractal 65 build that is only ever going to chase drift cars around? I need a little name for this. I can't really call it a tiny lifter. It doesn't fly like a tiny lifter. This is, I mean, basically what this is a 5-inch freestyle rig. I guess it's just a 1.2-inch chasing rig. Because that's basically what it is, right? Like if you build a 5-inch rig to carry a GoPro and chase, I guess you could call that a chase rig. So this is just the tiny chaser. Is it called the tiny chaser? Is that the deal? Why is this battery so low? One of these props is hitting. Apparently, all these propellers are hitting. What's happening here? I think they'll self-clearance them. Self-clearance. And I believe they have now self-clearanced. Let's check. No, not yet. They're getting there, though. The front propellers are hitting on the newbie drone cockroach ducts. So this rig is now on 28,500 kV 0702s rather than 30,000s, and I think I can tell it's still got good power, but it just feels like it has a little bit more throttle resolution, which is exactly why I did this. So that's pretty cool. Oh boy, I forgot about this whole T-Motor AIO falling out of the sky thing. I did not have a single issue with this T-Motor AIO chasing those drift cars, because I'm just not, like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not hammering roll and yaw hard. I'm flying smooth, I'm flying cinematic, I'm chasing a subject. So yeah, like, I still don't recommend that you buy one of these T-Motor AIOs, because there are other AIOs that do the exact same thing but don't fall out of the air when you ask it to do a bunch of pitch and roll at the same time. But if you've already bought one of these T-Motor AIOs, or if they go on clearance and they're really cheap, and you're looking to build a chase rig like this to chase drift cars around, yeah, this AIO will be completely fine. It uses a regular old VTX and a regular old OSD chip, so you can, oh boy, so you can, so the video quality is good, right? I wouldn't want to build a chase rig on a newbie drone AIO, because you're gonna lose, because the video quality out of those is not great. But yeah, so this is, to me, this is the use for the T-Motor AIO. And the fact that I don't have amp readout doesn't really matter. You know, I have voltage readout, and that's all I really need. So that was 2 minutes and 30. I mean, whatever. The battery was not fully charged. These batteries have been sitting charged for a few days. Freelojo says Tiny Chaser. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's the one. Robert G says, how about a Synolog? Synolog is going to be way too heavy to chase these little drift cars. Tiny lifter. The tiny lifter is like really difficult to chase these guys with, and it's as light as you're ever gonna have one of these little rigs. So yeah, definitely, I would definitely stay away from Synolog. That's just gonna be ultra heavy. Let's try one of these little 270 mAh batteries. This will be fun. I ran 4 of these in a row at the drift event, and I was actually really impressed. Like, I could definitely tell that this battery was a little bit lighter. It basically made this rig fly. So this Fractal 65 build is a little heavy. right? We've still got the plastic ducts, but then we've got 4 big old big tall M2 screws. We've got the carbon fiber. So these little tiny tinywhoop.com 270 mAh BT 2.0 batteries are just light enough. They're like a gram lighter. So they kind of offset that extra weight that you pick up with this build. And yeah, it's really nice. And you're not, you know, again, when you're doing that stuff, you're not hammering on the throttle. I don't like these batteries for freestyle stuff because they're pretty saggy. But for chasing, you're not deep into the throttle, so it kind of doesn't matter that that they're a little saggy because you're never really going full throttle. I'm tempted to go even smaller on the even lower kV on the motors to try to keep getting more and more throttle resolution, but I do want to make sure that I have enough power to keep the to allow the PID loop to kind of do its thing properly. So yeah, I think this is where I'm gonna stay, 28,500, and then at some point I'll probably play around with some motor limiting. I think that went into the ammo can that I use as a battery box. Sure did. So yeah, and you can see this little 270 battery is giving us some half decent runtime. We're at 1 minute and 20 seconds now, and at a hover, the battery is at 3.6. So yeah, these little, it's kind of nice. I feel like I've found a home for these little 270 mAh batteries too. I hadn't been using these because I don't like them for freestyle, but for this kind of stuff, they're great. The only problem with these little 270s is they once you get down below like 3.4 volts, they fall off a cliff. So it's really easy to miss it and over discharge the battery, and then it just kind of falls out of the air. So I forgot that gate was there. So yeah, be careful. Like right now it's at like 3.4, it's just gonna fall off a cliff. So you gotta get it, you gotta bring it home when it starts to get low. Like by the time you see the low battery warning, it's almost too late. So yeah, you gotta be a little bit careful with that. Other than that though, yeah man, they're a full gram lighter, which is a big deal. Like that's that's a significant amount of weight on a on these little rigs. You know, that could potentially be like a over 5% weight savings, and that's a big deal. EVAPV says, you have any luck with the BLV4 rig I was flying that crapped out? Yeah, it was totally fine. I have no idea what was happening. I changed it back to my settings, and it was just completely fine. On the Friday live stream, I was flying around the house. It was completely okay. I don't know what the hell was going on when we were there with it. The only thing I can think of is maybe it was just a dead battery. But then I don't know. That was very weird. Let me do one more 270 on here. I'm gonna specifically try to just stay down on the deck. If you're thinking about doing the RC, chasing the RC drift cars, this is what you want to be doing right here. You want to just fly around the house on the deck. This is the best training for that possible. Because when you're down low like this, those RC cars look so cool. There's also kind of no reason to go upstairs like this, other than for a change of scenery. But yeah, flying really low to the ground like this is the training for chasing the RC drift cars around. And you don't want to just do laps. You want to interrupt it with stuff like this, because like when you just do laps, you just kind of get used to the different throttle motions to stay really low. You want to throw in like a different turn. You want to then go like under some stools, because the drift cars are going to crash. They're going to change directions, and you need to be able to make like split decision moves like that, but try to keep your elevation down low. So you do want to kind of freestyle fly. You don't want to just make a racetrack. You don't want to just sit here doing orbits a centimeter off the ground forever. Yeah, you want to throw in a bunch of variety and try to keep your elevation down low while you're doing that. That's going to be the best sort of training to get good at that stuff. Uh-oh. What's happening? Okay, that was weird. I think there was maybe a string in the motor. All right. Another 270 down. Basically, when I see these little 270 batteries hit 3.5 per cell, I bring them home. I just kind of treat them like a bigger battery. I just wanted to do one more lap, and of course I immediately crash. Ah! Just one more lap. Just one more lap. Oh my god, what am I doing? It's like I'm doing it on purpose. Yeah, just stay on the deck. And that's how you practice. For chasing small things. Oh, look at that. The antenna flipped forward. Maybe it was overheated or something. Could be. Man, it was being really weird though. Kevin Sumner says the Drift Eye. That's a fun name actually. Okay, yeah, there's a big hair in that one motor. That was the problem, I think. All right, I'm gonna give that thing a rest. And let's dive into a couple 75 mil rigs that I've been sort of farting around with lately. I picked up a bunch of hairs. This thing, but because when it flips over, the props are so low to the ground, this picks up hair like a son of a bitch. It's really kind of incredible how much more hair this thing picks up than other rigs. Than other more normal rigs. Okay, so let's fly these 75s around and break everything. I'm going to do the 0802 27,000 kV Jungle Gym Hero rig first as our baseline. This is the one that I've flown a good amount now. This is way too much for in the house. This is not an in-the-house kind of rig. But we're going to fly it around the house because you just hear it, man. It's just upset. It's upset with life. It wants to be outside. It says, let me go outside and bang on some jungle gyms, yo. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Lot of power. Lot of power. Far too much for in the house. Great for jungle gyms, though. Oh my goodness. So this is the Foxier Pico Razor camera. Oh, the thing changed directions. Alright, so I just want to kind of get a feel for it. These are iGao limited edition Sugano 0802 27,000 kV motors with 1.5 mil motor shafts. The extra weight of this rig is why I keep crashing. I'm not used to having to manage this much extra momentum. I'm used to the really lightweight 65 mil tiny whoops. The extra prop size does help a little bit in keeping control, but it doesn't help nearly as much as a lighter weight rig. But if you fly this thing outside, you don't notice it nearly as much. Try to concentrate for a minute here. I mean, this thing does fly great, though, I must admit. This has a Weebleed FPV 1S 450 mAh battery, which is a little heavy. Emax has a 300 mAh battery that comes with a GNB 27. That's a better match for this. You just have to swap the connector over to BT 2.0, or just set your rig up with GNB 27. So yeah. All right, 3.6. Let's come downstairs for some shenanigans. Ooh! Speaking of shenanigans, Jesus. It still has really good throttle resolution if you run some throttle expos. You can still do this kind of small stuff. Not quite as easily as with a smaller rig. Like, see that? Like, it got out of shape there, and it like went really far away from the drum set all at once. That's just the extra power and the extra weight. This is just not an indoor rig. And the other thing about these 75s is when you crash them inside, they hit harder. Like, you could just hear it. Like, it's a much more violent collision with your belongings. So if you care about your belongings, fly a 65 rig inside and you'll break less shit. See that? Like, and it also gets out of control. Yeah, it gets out of control in a hurry. Oh, farts. So there's 0802 27,000s. The reason why these motors are so magical is they have a 1.5 millimeter motor shaft up above the bell. So that's why this is the Jungle Gym Basher. Because even though this rig is heavier from the bigger 75 mil frame, you can crash the shit out of this. And when you're banging away on them jungle gyms, you're gonna crash a lot because yeah, you got wind outside, and there are little tiny gaps that you can shoot in these jungle gyms, and you should shoot. But in doing so, you're gonna crash a bunch. So keep that in mind. All right, so that was the 0802 27,000 kV rig. Now we're gonna fly the 0603 26,000 kV rig. Slightly less stator volume, slightly more. Slightly less stator volume, slightly less kV, slightly less weight though. This is the AIO that. Oh boy. This is the AIO that overheats. So when it starts giving us a core temperature warning, that has nothing to do with these motors. This has more up tilt than I had a second ago, and that's completely making like evaluating this impossible. So let me take a little bit of the up tilt out here. So to be honest, though, the big thing that I'm going to be looking for here is the PID loop performance with these motors, and just the general feel of these motors on these 1.6-inch bi-blades. That should be a little bit less up tilt. I can just usually like kind of feel if the motor is a good match for the propeller. Let me take a quick look at where the PIDs are on this. So the D-gain slider is up at 1.2. D-max is at 1.4. Master multiplier is at 1.5. Okay, pretty standard stuff. Let me make sure that the throttle expo is set properly for the hover point. So we're just gonna kind of cruise around. Oh my god, the weight of these rigs is so hard to fly inside. Oh my god, stop it! They're just so slidey. Oh my god, why me? Oh, what is happening? I think the hover point is a little bit lower on this. It just feels big for in the house. So 43. Oh boy. 40. All right, so let me check the throttle expo. So the amount of throttle expo we have is 35, and then the midpoint is 38. So the midpoint is correct. Stop it. All right, so let's fly it around. Definitely less power. Like, I'm actually surprised that there's such a difference in power, but the other rig is like way overpowered. So this actually feels better for indoor stuff because it's not as like insanely overpowered. Ah! Very hard to fly inside. Yes, I know that Heads flies 75 mil rigs inside. Watch Heads on Velocidrone, and you will see that he is one of the best freestyle pilots on the planet right now. He is just orders of magnitude better than I am as a pilot, so I need to rely on gear much more than him to fly half decent. So yeah, unless you're as good as Heads, which I doubt, you're going to benefit, much like me, from a 65 millimeter rig to fly indoors. If you're as good as Heads, you should probably be a professional FPV pilot. So what the hell are you doing watching this? Come on now. Oh boy. Oh boy. Wow, I can't believe I got out of that one. I mean, the PID loop runs completely fine. It makes, like I said, significantly less power. I don't want to fly it around a ton because I'm going to bend these motor shafts. Yeah, one of them's already starting to get bent. Motor 3 is already starting to get bent. Yeah, I don't think I need to put another battery through this. This is like the thrown together kind of experimental AIO. And yeah, these 603s totally work. It's better suited for indoor stuff, but don't fly this indoor. You're limiting yourself for no real reason. Good power though, 26,000 kV is a good kV for these particular motors. Well, no, I'm sorry, for this prop size, for bi-blade 1.6 inch props, 26,000 kV makes really, really, really good power. But it's too much power for inside the house, and then so you're going to fly it outside, but you're going to crash hard outside, and you're going to bend these motor shafts. So this would be like if you're not going to crash, and you're going to crash. Like even if you say like, oh, I'm not going to crash, you're going to crash. If you really don't crash often, okay. But I think I would still rather have the 0802 27,000s. So that when, not if, you do crash, it's going to hold up a little bit better. But I'm actually surprised at how good these... I'm not really surprised, but these 0603s... this, I think, is the best use of these 0603 26,000s. They were not... they didn't have enough KV on the 65 millimeter rigs, in my opinion, and they were a little bit too heavy. If you're going to do a 65 millimeter motor-to-motor rig with the 1.2 inch smaller propellers, do it on 0702s. You don't need a motor that's this big. Although there are racers who are like in between the 0702 and the 0802, and these would be perfect for them. So that you could also make a really strong argument for that being the best use of this particular motor. But yeah, there you go. There are the three rigs that I wanted to just throw up in the air real quick and just do a little bit of battery discharge in here. I'm gonna put these back on the shelf and we can dive into the dual VTX rig, which Joshua Bardwell famously tried and said is not really doable. He tried to build, I think, at one point, a rig with two VTXs, one digital DJI VTX and one analog VTX. And basically what I remember, or what somebody told me, is that they were interfering with each other too much, and he didn't go any farther with it. I've not had that problem. Although I did specifically make sure that my analog antenna was at a 45-degree angle on the rear standoffs, and then the DJI antenna is on a 45-degree angle from the middle standoff. So there's a good like 1.5 to 2 inches of separation between those two antennas, and that's probably why I had an okay time doing this. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that as well. All right, so let me move the chat window around a little bit here. And let me fire up the Logitech software to make this camera look not like ass. Come on, Logitech. There it is. All right. So here we go. Let's figure this out. I think I'm actually going to need to pull this all the way apart because I want to use this. I want to use this little. I kind of have to use this little plug for this T-Motor VTX because I'm gonna tape this thing down to the base plate, and I don't want. Your other option is to use these pads here. They put a bunch of pads on the bottom for if you don't want to use the plug. But my plan is to mount this thing flat on the base plate with that heat transfer tape. And so if I solder to these pads, there's going to be, there's going to be the thickness of the wire and the solder, and then I'm afraid that that's going to touch the conductive carbon. I mean, it'll obviously have the words eluded him. It will obviously have the, what word do I say after that? Oh, the heat transfer tape to insulate it. But with a bunch of vibration, it could, there's a chance that it could like let go. And I'm just not playing that game. So yeah, I'm going to use the plug. So I'm going to need to solder onto the flight controller. And there's a chance that the pads that I need access to are on the bottom of the flight controller. So I think I'm gonna have to. Pull the stack at least somewhat apart. So this might be a little bit more involved of a job. I'm also considering rewiring the Crossfire because these wire runs are just a little too short. My God, is that going to make the amount of time that this build is going to take multiply, but whatever. This is pretty much what I'm going to be doing tonight. This stream is going to stop in a half an hour, and I'm just going to keep doing. Although, I have to go pick up a ceiling fan right at 5. But then when I get home, like this is just my night. This rig is going to be my night. I am going to force myself to take a little break to play Gran Turismo 7 because I'm like super stressed out right now. I've stressed myself out by being all nervous about the amount of time that I've got to get all these rigs tested and back going. But before these cycling events are the best paying gigs that I get. So I just go crazy over preparing for these, also because I have to fly to them. And so, yeah, like my access to my stuff is limited. Luckily, I've been able to connect with FPV pilots at these places. So, like, God forbid I need a laptop or something like that, I can bug them, which has been awesome. And I've met some cool folks doing that. And I'm going to continue to do that. Like, as these events are coming up, I'm going to be posting on on Discord saying, like, everyone, who's in so-and-so city to kind of keep connecting with you guys. Because, yeah, the feedback that I've gotten so far is that you guys love coming and hang. I mean, why wouldn't you? Love coming and hanging out and getting to meet me and yada, yada, yada. So, yeah. Community, yo. It's the best. All right. Rush Tank 20x20 coming out. Ramdango says you did very well before. Get the price right. Good luck. Yeah, it's the price is good. These gigs pay well. And I based what I charged for these gigs off of talking to Justin. And I mean, just like, you know, I've been friends with Tommy and Corey, Tommy, oh my God, Corey Cricket, forever. And they've been doing they've been flying gigs for a while. So, I mean, a bunch of us have had like an open dialogue about what rates that we should be charging and what rates we can charge, so that there's not like a race to the bottom and we're not, all competing with each other. So yeah, I'm not charging more than what's fair. I'm probably charging a little bit less than what I should, but you know, I'm not. Oh my God, I'm not Cricket. I'm not quite on that level yet, and I might not ever be, and that's okay because it's really hard to do what they've done and develop a huge fan base. And that takes one of two things. That either takes a ton of time and effort, or it takes being in the right place at the exact right time. And both of those guys were definitely in the exact right place at the exact right time when there was that huge boom in FPV. That's when they were cranking out videos. And I was not. You know, I was working a full-time job with a partner that wasn't all that supportive. I mean, that's not fair. That's not fair. Yeah, that's a little harsh, but you guys know what I mean. I'll leave it at that. So yeah, I missed the boat a little bit on that, and that's a shame. But I mean, you know, life goes on. I'm a very lucky guy. I'm not gonna sit here and bitch and moan that like, oh, I'm not one of the top 10 FPV freestyle pilots on Earth. Oh, woe is me. I'm just taking a picture of this so I know where the wires go. Somebody type into chat for me. Type into chat. Outside in, yellow, red, black, white. Yellow, red, black, white from the outside in is what I need to remember. I have the little picture of it, but... Alright, so... I guess I don't have to take the flight controller off, although I'm going to have to solder from like this angle. Yeah. Let me take a look at some of these wire leads. When I'm working on rigs that are going to be used for like worky stuff, every time I have it apart, I look at the individual strands of wire in between the silicone shielding and the solder pads, because that's where they will eventually break. But in this case, we're good to go. I especially do it when I've got a rig that I'm taking apart and like moving stuff around, because that's when they tend to break. And like, you know, you see me jiggling around with this crossfire, you see me moving this around. So yeah, keep that in mind. That's an important thing to keep an eye on. But in this case, we're looking really good. This wire runs a little bit long. We could probably shorten that up, but I'm not trying to make extra work for no reason. The other thing that I need to do is run power leads back. So yeah, you know what? I am going to need to pull this thing apart. So yeah, let's tear this apart, and that will give me better access to the ESC pads, which I'm gonna need for some of the shit that we're doing here. Hold on. So, unplugging the camera first, and I'm actually going to take this out of here. I'm going to take this camera out of here, I think. Apparently not, because those TPU standoffs are welded on there. Let's pull this flight controller off, and then we'll rotate the flight controller back. That'll give me really good access to these ESC pads, and then yeah, we'll move forward. Do yourself a favor, friends. Get you a Wiha M2 nut driver. Here's the number that you need to type into Amazon. You don't need it, but man, is it nice to have it. Wiha 265/4,0x60. Get yourself one of these. It's really, 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 really nice to have. Otherwise, taking these, you can literally like ruin a flight controller taking these nuts off with a set of pliers, because they put components right next to the where'd that screw go? They put components, not screw, nylock nut. Did it go flying? They put components right next to the mounting stuff, and yeah. So you can either spend a couple of bucks on one of these guys, or you can, man, that nut just disappeared. It is just gone. Or you can break flight controllers. Your choice. Where the hell? I didn't hear it. Usually I'll hear stuff across the desk. And it's not, sometimes they go inside here. I must have, I went like this, and it must have gone flying. And I just couldn't hear it. Because it's, looking over here on the carpet, I'm thinking like, if it flew over onto the carpet, I wouldn't be able to hear it. Of course, I got this light blasting me in the balls. Okay, I guess it's just gone. I'll step on it at some point and find it. Looks like I have an extra 2 little nutty boys right here, though. So we'll just use those. Okay, so flight controller. Coming up and out. It's right there on the table, Danzilla says. Oh, okay, there it is. I mean, here is a screw. All right. So, there it is. It was inside the, it was inside. Okay. Put this guy back away. And so, yeah, I've got a little, whenever you get like the female-sided connectors, always save them. Let me show you. Every once in a while, so we've all seen these a million times, and you have a million of these floating around, I'm sure. The male-sided ones, right? But every once in a while, you'll get a component that has one of these little female-sided connectors. Hang on to it, because this... Focus, you jerk. There we go. Because, yeah, this allows you to make a little, yeah, male to female plug. And in this case, this is, like, amazing, because once I do this, this will be the plug that lives connected to this Vista. And then whenever I need to put this thing in, I just take this. I'm going to leave this in there, tucked in between the flight controller and the ESC, and then I can just drop this down, plug it in. It's got power. All's right with the world. And, yeah, life is terrific. I do want to take a look at how I'm going to mount this. I wish that I'd paid more. I wish that I'd taken pictures. I probably did it on a live stream of how I'd mounted this previously. Basically, I want to make sure that I've got room for the antenna. So the antenna is going to sit off this standoff here on the side, with a little 45-degree jibby jabby. Or I could do this straight up and down piece from FPV Cycle. But what I've found is that this doesn't, it doesn't fit. I don't know what antenna this is for. Oh, it does fit. I'm stupid. Okay, so if I really want separation, I can use this little vertical guy. But wait, there was a problem with this? What was the problem? So this little TPU piece here is what FPV Cycle sells for the antenna mount for the Cinesplorer, and I think they want you to run it right here. That's the way they show it in the pictures. But the little holes in this are kind of small, but the real problem is that this clips onto this, and oh, you know what? They want you to run it there, don't they? They want it up here. They want it up here. Man, that would really give me separation between these two antennas. But I don't need more separation than I got last time, and I also don't necessarily want this behind this TPU. I mean, it should be fine, but I would rather have this a little bit more open air, like back here, especially like when I'm nose down. So I'm going to do it the way that I did it last time. I'm not going to use this piece. I'm going to use one of these little guys, these little 45-degree bastards. And in case you haven't seen these are sold on Pyrodrone. This main part here that my finger is pointing at is the width of the standoffs, the knurled standoffs, and then this guy here at a 45-degree angle is the width of these little antenna shafts. So you just run your... although it tends to be a little bit kind of small, so that it's tough to get the UFL through. Sometimes I have to actually cut this part in order to get the UFL through. Your other option is one of these, but this is more for SMA. This goes on the standoff, and then this is so this is actually going to be too big, I think. Yeah, that's way too big for that. Yeah, no, sorry, this is where the standoff goes, and then this is where an SMA goes. So we're not going to use this. Hang on. What's that? No. Yeah, I think I did this previously on a live stream. Morton Upshot says, look inside the stack. I bet it's in the nest of wires. It certainly was. Way Chunky FPV says, sure it isn't in the driver. Looks like it's stuck. That's why I kept... Did you notice I kept taking the driver and going like this on the table? I kept thinking it was inside the driver, and I was trying to knock it out, but it refused to come out because it was not in there. So... Hold on a second. Let me just think about this. The way that this is all interconnected, because the way that this mounts is gonna affect. So I mount these Vistas either with the pads facing rearwards, which puts the antenna in the back, or and this lead, in the front, or I'll mount them the other way. I don't play this game with mounting these things sideways. I never want these leads close to the propellers, right? So depending on how I mount this, that's going to depend on how long these wires need to be. So that's why this is all sort of interconnected. So if I mount it like this with this camera lead in the rear, I've got a big long camera lead that I've got to manage, and it might just be just like that. And then these leads are up front for a slightly shorter run, and then the antenna here, UFL, is up on the corner, and I can run that little 45-degree mount on either one of these jibby jabbies. So that's an option, and I think that's what I did last time, to be honest. But I could do it differently this time. So I could mount it like this. I could run that down below. And then I'm exhausted. They say that like exercising in the morning is supposed to wake you up for the day. It knocks me out for the day. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure it's just that I don't exercise enough. Okay, so if this is mounted like this, the question becomes, is this long enough? And the answer is kind of no. Let me see if I have, I don't think I do, but let me see if I have any more of these UFL antennas. DJI, I have a specific box for the DJI antennas. Well, just for all the DJI stuff. I think all I have are the shitty Caddx antennas. Yeah, I got a bunch of, well, oh no, hold on. I got some. Here we go. Okay, so I've got one of these big long boys, but that's totally overkill. Although, man, that'll give me great separation between these two antennas. So that would allow me to go back there and then wrap it all the way around and have this thing stand all the way up. So that's interesting. And then I've got one of these little True RCs. And so with this guy, I'd have to run it like that, and then I would need to like put a couple pieces of shrimp wrap on here to get it to lock in to the TPU thing. Or I've got an OCP, but these OCPs I usually save for basher rigs. So yeah, definitely not using this OCP, especially because it's the same length as this True RC Singularity. Gamma Godad says, main reason that Bob made the extended 15 centimeter antennas is for the Cinesplorer so that it would stick up higher than the GoPro in that spot. Yeah, that's true. I didn't realize Bob made those extended antennas. That's pretty cool. Gamma Godad says, pads in the back, camera lead is a pain the other way. Never mind, yours is set up differently than mine. I came in late. Looks like you're installing analog and digital. Yep, this is a chase rig. I fly analog, and then it shoots rearward DJI to output to the TV truck for the live stream Criterium Cup race. I did this build last year for Salt Lake City, and it worked really, really well. So the question is, big long boy, which with the big long boy, what I could do for maximum antenna separation is use this little bastard and put it up here on these mounting, in this little mounting location here. The question becomes, is that going to interfere with anything, though? Let me take a really quick look at that. So this can come out of here. Let's put this back in place and just see if that TPU is going to foul on this flight controller. I don't think so, because there's just tons of room in this frame, but I'll be goddamned if I do all this to find out that it doesn't fit. So drop this down. Yeah, there's tons of room. Tons and tons and tons of room. Yep. That's down on that standoff. I mean, this is not all the way down, but yeah, we're good. Okay, so I can do it either way. I can either use this little short guy on the 45-degree angle one sitting like that. That's what I did last time. Or I can use this big, tall bastard sitting up in the front. And basically what that's going to do is this little TPU mount is going to be clamped up here. So that's going to put this antenna up here. And it's going to sit up like that. I like the idea of this thing being kind of low profile, and I do to travel. I do tend to take these. I hate having stuff sitting up really tall when these things are strapped to my bag, because like when I'm throwing them in the overhead bin and people are putting their shit next to it, like I don't want it to rip antennas off. So, or I could also do this guy, but The True RC has less. I guess it's got the same amount of lead. No, yeah, it's a little bit less of a lead than this Cadex Jibbo Jabbo. And this has the nice plastic fella. So I think that I'm going to use, I think I'm going to do it at a 45. I think that this at a 45 off this standoff, and then that means that I can run this thing, this Vista like this, that in the back, and let's just double check that we're going to have enough of a wire run here for the antenna. So that's going to be there. This antenna is going to be inside of this. Also need to make sure that I can get this UFL through here. Yeah, there it goes. You just have to very methodically like push it a little bit at a time, because the UFL wire is not super strong. So yeah, there it goes. All right, cool. So we're through. So this guy going to be up here like this. Oh boy, that's is that not going to go in there? Come on, get in there. Wow, I mean, if I can get it through there, it's not coming out, which is a good thing. With these little doing it with these TPUs and then using these plastic barrels, I'm always I don't do it on any like freestyle rigs because I'm always worried about it coming out and then the antenna flopping around, getting into the props and shit. But in this case, if I can get this through here, it ain't going nowhere. But Jesus, it's kind of fighting me a little bit. Let's do this. Let me just take the flush cutters and put a little bit of an angle on this, just to help it get started going through the TPU. Just make a little 45-degree angle. Hung out with Patrick and Monica last night. Maggie and I did at a really cool little lake-ish, it's more like a river house that they're renting at the moment. That was very fun. Flew a couple of Cinewoop batteries, fixed his Cinewoop actually. It was a stack mounting problem. Always make sure that your mounting hardware that your stack is on is solid. You want to make sure that the 4 screws that your stack are sitting on won't rotate like this. So basically, you run your long screw up through the bottom plate, and then you put a nut on the very bottom of that to make sure that that screw is perfectly vertical and can't wiggle around. Very, very important. I figured that out eons ago, and I've talked about it a bunch, but it's hard. Like, not everybody watches every single live stream ever. So that was a good reminder. Initially, I was like, "Oh yeah, we'll just filter tune it out or PID tune it out," and I tried that, and it didn't make any difference. And then actually, we didn't even try it. After I went in and did things in beta flight, I then looked at the stack, and I was like, "Oh, there's the problem. Yo, this is gonna be on here." All right, so I got it going. Jesus, this is wild. It's like ballooning the TPU out like crazy. What is this spec'd for? If it's not spec'd for this, what the hell is it? All right, so let me take it off, and it needs to be opened up a little bit. Don't just pull the UFL through when you're taking these out of here. Push it. Push it through. Get a little tool and push the UFL out like that. So yeah, I need to open up the inside of this, and I'm just going to do that with heat. I'm just going to shoot the little torch through it, and then I'm going to ram a screwdriver in there to kind of open it up. Or maybe I can do it with some pliers. Yeah, I'm actually going to do it with pliers because they taper bigger. Right now it says not everybody watches every live stream ever. Hey! Alright. Oh, fart. I feel like I've already done this to one of these, but I might have used it on another rig. Alright, so here we go. And... okay, so like that, and then take this guy and put it in there and just wiggle it around a little bit. And put it in here and just wiggle it around a little bit. You gotta be quick because it's hot. And I think I opened it up too much. But I think I should have an extra one of these, so we'll be all right. Yeah, I opened that up too much. Denzel Turbo says heat up a drill bit, you can carve with it. That works as well. This is the ultra lazy method. Where did that antenna go? There it is. I shouldn't have clicked it over the second time. That was stupid. Yeah, I made it too big. God damn it. Hold on, let me grab another one. Pyrodrone sells these. So it's not like I can't get more. Where's my little TPU stash? Oh wait, hold on. I might actually have these in the in my little DJI box. Yep. Maybe. Is that the right direction? No, that's the wrong direction. So they make these in like right and left, basically. Is that the right direction? Nope, that's the wrong direction. I swear to God, if this is the last one, I'm going to lose my mind. Nope, there's another one. All right, cool. And here it is. Okay, let's not ruin this one. I'm going to do the drill bit method. That's a good idea. This is not ruined. I mean, this will still work on like a freestyle rig, but it's whatever. Okay, so put this in here. I'm going to let this one join the party as well. And this is going to be what we use. Throw these antennas back in here. Antennas back in here. Okay. And this little guy as well. Okay, hold on. Let me go get a set of drill bits. I'll be right back. Be right back, friends. 1 second. 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 1,000. I want a shitty drill bit set, which is this one, because I'm going to be putting heat into them. Okay. What do we got here? All right, let's find a drill bit that fits this properly. So my guess is going to be that 5/32 is too small. No, it looks like it's just about right, actually. Yeah, okay. I think 5/32 is actually kind of perfect. Let's compare it to the... Ooh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to try this without heating it up first, because this might be just the right size. So, oh God. Ooh. All right, take this off. Throw this guy in here. And let's see how this does without any heat. Woo! This is a little sketchy to do this, to be honest with you, but you'll be all right. Hold on, no, those are the most famous of last words. Let's do this a little bit more intelligently. Okay. There we go. That's better. And you can see it is removing some material. So let's I don't need to remove much. Okay, that removed a little bit. Let's see how it is. I'll be able to tell by how easily the UFL goes through there. And, oh, way easier. Okay, so that might be just the right amount. That might have been exactly right. And I guess now there's, no, with the layers there was a good texture in there. I was going to say maybe it's more textured in there to hold onto the antenna better, but I don't really think that's true. So... yeah, that's going through there. Yeah. I think that was perfect. I want it to be in here, right? Like I want it to be firm in there, but not. I don't want it to come out, but I also don't want it to get stuck forever. But I think that's just about perfect. Cool. So this guy is going to sit on there like that, and then this wire is going to turn a hard corner here and not reach the Vista. God damn it, Larry. Yeah, it doesn't even come close to reaching. This is why I wanted to spec this out, though. Okay, so that means I have to run this thing forward, I think. Because then this guy goes here, and then this comes up on the angle. And so that also means that I drilled out the wrong one. I got to mount the antenna on the other side. I kind of like that, though, because the other side is going to be away. Yeah, this is going to be better. Okay, so this is fine. And I'm also realizing this is how I had it set up last time. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm only a little bit annoyed. So let's get this other one back out that goes 45 degrees in the other direction. Nope, that's not it. Oh, you know what? I can use one of these red ones now. Does this rig have red TPU? It sure does. And I bet you one of these red ones is already drilled out. Are you drilled out? Oh, no, this one's not drilled out, but look, this is the one. So last time I cut it. Last time what I did is I just put a cut in the side of it to get it to clear. I've done this before, and the TPU is thick enough that by doing that little cutout, you're actually still fine. What's kind of nice about doing the cutout is it allows you to like easily remove the antenna, which is kind of cool, but it's not the biggest deal. So let me take a look. Let me take a look at how sturdy it is with the cut instead of the. Oh God, no, that's terrible. Okay, no, I'm not doing that. Look, it opens it up like massively, and then no, but see, it's nice and strong. Like I'm pushing on that pretty good, and it's not even coming close to popping out of there. Now it finally popped out, but when the quad is like on your bag, having it cut out like this is kind of nice because you can just pop the antenna off and put it into like and make the rig so it sits completely flat on the outside of your bag. You can like pop the antenna off and like tuck it in inside the body. I think I remember doing that for when I was flying. And then you just feed it in there when you're ready to go. Man, that opens up like crazy though. Like look at that gap that it creates. That feels so weird having it like that. Look at that gap, yo. Look how much it opens it up. That's wild. Well, shit. I don't know which way I want to go now. Man, that is sturdy though. Like it really does hold it. It's totally fine. It does eventually pop out, but then you can just kind of ram it back in there. I think it's a little too sketchy. I don't think I'm going to use this one. All right, people, we got another couple minutes. Oh, wait, no, it's 5:02. I got to roll. All right, so yeah, I'm going to finish this tonight, but I talked all about it. I don't really know what else to tell you guys about this little build here, setup. I'm going to finish this up and use it, and then you guys won't get to see any of the footage from it because it'll be all buried in the live stream. But just know that that I used it. Let me actually... I'll give you guys the satisfaction of seeing me finish this up by drilling this one out. And hopefully not drilling my fingers out in the process. Alright, let's get our chip lifter in here. And we'll make some red dust this time. Stop it. Stop it. Come on now. There we go. There it is. Okay. That removed just enough, I think. And... oh man, that like... what the hell? I did a number on the inside of this, but... should be fine. And this UFL through. And let's see how this fits. Yeah, I think that's about perfect. I could maybe remove a little bit more, but as we all know, I'd rather it be a little bit too tight than a little bit too loose. I am gonna remove a little bit more though. Hold on. Ah, farts! Wrong camera. Okay, let's get this back in here. And okay, that's fine now. That's fine. Okay. Let me just super quickly, really gently hit this with some torch loving. Okay. Just the tiniest little bit there. That was much less torching than with the black one that I messed up. Just use this to kind of smooth it out. I'm not pushing hard enough to open it up with this. I'm just smoothing it out a little bit. So now, when I was drilling it, it was like the layers were getting a little bit angry. Okay, yeah, that's feeling better. Yeah, there we go. That's it. That's the stuff. So yeah, I mean, like that's in there. It's way more solid than the one that I cut the side out of. Like I'm almost struggling to get it out of there. So yeah, this will be really solid in there. And then this will sit right up at the top. Okay, so this guy, this Vista is going to get mounted the other way around, which I can just do like this. So yeah, this I'm just going to have to I remember this. I remember bundling up this this camera wire, but I mean it's fine. There's plenty of room in the back to do this. So that's why this camera wire has a bunch of folds in it actually. So just have this sitting up here, bundle this guy up like kind of like that, I guess. This guy comes down on the bottom. So yeah, that stays all bundled up there. And then this antenna, this crossfire is obviously going to be like stuck down to the top of this. And then this guy is going to sit here. And this wire, so basically this wire this UFL is on there. And this guy sits like this all the way up top. And then I just need to push this down so it's not pushing itself into the flight controller. There we go. Put the little clip on there. All will be right with the world. And then the top plate comes down and everything tucks in. Well, fighting for space a little bit with the with this battery strap, but once the battery is on there, that battery strap will be sitting up like this. Oh Christ, now it makes me want to do it on the other side again. I'm going to end up doing it on the other side, because the other side doesn't have the buckle, and the buckle is kind of getting in the way. Yeah, I'm going to do it on the other side. Oh well. Because now I have enough room for this to just kind of go up and... Yeah, let me see. Let's take a quick look. Ramdongo says grinding guards. I don't know what that means. What you talking about with this? Hell. I don't know. I gotta go pick up a ceiling fan though. So I gotta run, friends. Thanks for hanging out. My name's Aaron Ciotti. Head on over to CiottiFPV.com if you'd like to see these live streams continue, because we are crowdfunded, and I rely on beautiful people like you and you and you and you and you to keep the boat afloat. Thanks for hanging. Here comes a little bit more. Well, here comes a little tiny bit of the flying from the river. It's kind of wobbly and bobbly. It was a little windy, but here you guys go. And this is flat, raw out of the camera, so it's not gonna knock your socks off. But that's what I was up to yesterday. Love you guys. Be good. Traditional blues, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Later, friends. I'll see you tomorrow night, 10.